Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalist, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney Vaccaro. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hey, welcome back to the Lifestyle Herbalist. Rachel Cline is joining us today on the podcast. Rachel is a yoga teacher and integrative life coach based in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley and the founder of Radiantly Rooted. She works with women in the messy middle of identity transition, guiding them through her signature program, one-on-one coaching, live classes, and her podcast, all rooted in yoga philosophy as a real roadmap back to themselves. She's a certified yoga teacher who believes transformation happens when the body and the mind work together, not just on the mat. Today's conversation is one that I think many of us need to hear. Have you ever found yourself snapping at your spouse, your children, a coworker, or even a complete stranger? And then moments later you wondered, why did I react that way? Or maybe you've just spent the rest of the day replaying the moment in your mind, feeling guilty, ashamed, or frustrated that you couldn't seem to control your emotions. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. What we often call having a short fuse isn't simply a personality flaw or a lack of willpower. More often, it's a signal. Our bodies and nervous systems are consistently and continually communicating with us. And sometimes irritability, impatience, and emotional outbursts are signs that we're overwhelmed, chronically stressed, depleted, or caring more than we realize. Today's guest is here to help us understand what's really happening beneath those reactions. Together, we'll explore why our emotional responses can seem out of proportion, why we tend to beat ourselves up afterwards, and most importantly, what we can do to create more awareness, resilience, and compassion for ourselves. Whether you're navigating a demanding career, caring for a family, juggling a full schedule, or simply feeling like life has been a lot lately, I think you'll walk away from this conversation with practical tools and a new perspective on your own emotional health. So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and join us in welcoming our wonderful guest, Rachel Cline. Rachel, we're so excited to hear from you, and we're so excited for our audience to hear about this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here with you.
Welcome. I really want to welcome you as well. I'm really interested in hearing all about what you have to offer, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
And Rachel, you should know I love hearing the story behind the story. And I'm curious, what brought you to the wellness space in the first place?
This is actually kind of a funny story because growing up, I was always very active anyway. And I used to work out with VHS tapes and in my bedroom. And this was back even in high school. And there was a bonus on my Pilates DVD. It was yoga. And I'd probably heard the word yoga, but I had no idea what it was. And there was something about it. It was the bonus section at the end of a Pilates DVD. But that yoga practice just hooked me in. There was something about it that left me feeling calm and grounded long after the practice was over. And so I've been practicing for over 25 years now, and it just kind of expanded and evolved from there.
Wonderful. Great. So today you're going to talk to us about the short fuse. What have you experienced about that?
Well, the short fuse is one of those things where, there's this moment where something occurs. Maybe your partner left the dishes in the sink again, or maybe they said something in a tone that's just a little bit triggering, and we're feeling a little extra sensitive to it. And so that moment happens and we snap, we react instead of mindfully responding. And quite often that reaction is out of proportion to the events that actually happened. It's something that might not even bother you on a normal day.
Mhm.
But for some reason, you're overloaded, you're overstimulated. Maybe you haven't been creating time in your schedule for self-care, and we snap. And to your point, like you said earlier, we snap, and then there's that feeling of shame, there's that feeling of guilt, and you replay it over and over in your mind, wondering why such a small thing lit you up. There's that wave of regret then that follows. And I know I've been there myself. And, you don't mean to be rude, you don't mean to overreact, but it's just the state that we're in. We get into the space of fight or flight, of the mind kind of goes into that survival mode. And it's not because we're being impatient. It's certainly not because we're trying to be difficult. It's just that we're reacting before the mind comes online.
Mhm.
And so, it's more about capacity, right, than character. At least that's what I like to think. Um, if you think about a cup, that cup can only hold so much. And most of us are operating at full capacity every single day. We go, 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 we do, 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 and we don't slow down enough to take care of ourselves. And so that little drop on the top, that's where we tend to overflow. And that reaction comes out before we have a chance to mindfully respond.
Yeah, that certainly is true. And I'm thinking about people in my life. I'm thinking about myself and how I've been trying to, in my own mind, remember not to react, but to respond. And it's easy to say, but so much harder to put into practice, Rachel.
It
So true,
really
right?
is.
So true.
Yeah, and sometimes, some days, like you said, some days I think, oh, okay, that doesn't bother me. I'm safe. I have to talk to myself. I'm safe. I'm fine. They're having an issue. They're feeling stressed. So I have to come out of my own self and realize like who I'm talking to or what maybe they're dealing with. But other days, like I'm not as patient. I'm not as I'm like, you hurt my feelings.
Yes. And that empathy, I think that's so important to bring up because yes, I overreact. My response sometimes is exaggerated in proportion to an action or a moment, but other people have those moments too. And so when somebody else perhaps snaps at me, to your point, having that empathy and being curious about where they're coming from. Was this really about me? Or is their cup overflowing and they just didn't have the capacity to respond mindfully then rather than react with intention? And so when you think about it, like at least for me, what's going on in my body in that moment, maybe some heat in the chest, your jaw gets tight. The words are already on their way out before you can even catch them. And all of it moves faster than our mind can process it. And so when we get into that state, you can't think your way into calm. The logical mind is offline. And so one thing that I found, I work with my clients a lot on the power of the pause. And it's
Yes.
just this moment of mindfulness, this split second to just catch yourself so that you can choose how you want to respond rather than just reacting in the moment from whatever triggered you. And so the more we practice this in our day-to-day life, the easier it is to practice it when we get triggered. And so a couple of different ways that we can do this, since we're all different. We all are anchored in our body by different things. And so, three different ways I like to think about this. One is the breath. You can just take a long, slow, deep breath in, and then an even longer, deep breath out. And that can be one way to help your body just come home to itself, be a little bit more grounded, a little bit more present. That single breath gives you the opportunity to slow down enough to choose how you want to respond. It changes the state of your body enough to help calm you down, ground you. Some people don't really find the breath to be a stabilizing anchor. Some people prefer instead to come to counting to 10. You can count up, you can count backwards, maybe even counting just to three. But just that split second to like, okay, I have a tool in my toolkit that can help me in the split second. And again, practicing it throughout the day. You're driving and you start to get triggered by somebody around you. You can come to the breath. You can come to a few counts. And then the final one is just noticing what's around you. What do you see right in front of you right now? Can you name 3 different things that you see right in front of you right now? And
Mhm.
that just distracts your mind long enough to bring you fully into the present. You can do it just a split second, but it's that power of the pause. It slows you down. So even though we're still busy, even though we're still going all the time and doing and giving so much of ourselves to everybody else, even though often we're at the bottom of our own to-do list that we fall off of it, we can bring these micro practices into our day so that we can just weave these little pockets of peace, pockets of stillness, pockets of pausing to help our nervous system feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more connected, a little bit more embodied.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where I feel that way. I think it's just like you said, the cup's so full and you just don't take that time for yourself. And that's where you get triggered, right? Because you aren't taking that time and because you you see the differences when you do take the time, right? When you take the time to do your yoga practice. And if you haven't done your yoga practice in 2 days and you've been go, 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 and then somebody says, oh, can you do? And you're like, okay, but I just need like a minute for myself, right? And so that deep breathing exercise really does help. I do have a question though. How do you, what if the person that you are dealing with or someone in your family is triggered and you have to deal with their reaction and you don't want to absorb that reaction? What would you say is a good way of dealing with that?
So if I'm on the receiving end of somebody else's reactivity, yes, yes. Well, I think it's important to, the people in our home, these are the people that we care the most about in our lives. They're also probably the people that we spend the most time with. So we are going to get on each other's nerves at some point or other. And whether it's something I actually did or whether it is something that they are responding to simply because their cup is too full, their capacity is overloaded. Just a reminder, we're all human. We're all doing the best we can. We love and care about each other. And my reaction, I don't want to escalate the situation. Instead, I want to be a calm, grounding um, presence to hopefully help their nervous system calm down just a bit as well. A reminder, you can't be patient from an empty body. They're probably not reacting to the dishes. They're probably not reacting to, whatever I did personally. It's probably that their body has been on high alert for so long that they've forgotten how to stand down. And so, first of all, taking a deep breath myself, coming back into my body, grounding in presence, and choosing that power of the pause to slow down enough, take a deep breath, and react with kindness, compassion, and empathy, and also try to say or do something that would help diffuse the situation instead of escalating it.
Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. I wanted to pause and give a shout out to our sponsors. First, Great Ghee has become a favorite in my kitchen. I love having high quality, nourishing cooking fat made with simple ingredients and right here in Virginia. If you would like to try this yourself, use the link in the show notes and you'll receive 10% off your order with the code Dabney Vaccaro. We're also very grateful for Defender Shield. As we talk often about reducing our overall toxic burden, Defender Shield offers products designed to support healthier technology habits. Use the link in our show notes and receive 5% off your order. And finally, if you've been thinking about growing your own food, Survival Garden Seeds makes it easy to get started. Whether you have a large garden or a few containers on your porch, they're offering our listeners 10% off through the link in the show notes. Now let's get back to the show. Rachel, I love that you're using the phrase power of the pause because I was sitting here thinking like that's something I can certainly, that's a muscle I need to probably work on is the power of the pause because as thinking outside of it and like when we replay the scenario over and over again, I think, oh, I wish I would have said this. I wish I would have responded this way. I wish I would have whatever. But you're right. I think the power of the pause, like, okay, they're coming at me. I've obviously have something has triggered them. So power the pause. Oh, it seems like that upset you. That wasn't my intention. I'm sorry. What was it that I said? Let me try to explain better. I certainly, that's a muscle I certainly need to work on. I love that you keep using that.
Yes, and one of the things that I work with my clients with is daily pause points. Can you weave intentional pauses throughout your day? Maybe before you eat your lunch, you take a deep breath. Maybe first thing when you wake up in the morning, you offer yourself a few breaths, just enough to intentionally and mindfully come back into your body, fully present with your breath, with your mind, fully embodied. And I love how, to your point, you bring up, opening up that doorway to conversation. And really, instead of assuming something, having the conversation, okay, what's really going on here? And how do we get to the root cause of what the true issue is?
Totally.
It's like the old saying, like, think before you speak, sort of thing, right? You take that time before you're going to react, because sometimes you don't want to feed the reaction of the other person, or if someone's getting on your last nerve, but it's like just in it, not that you're triggered or anything, but it's just like, I don't know, like someone's making you anxious about, like, they're just taking over your situation, and you're like, okay, wait a second. Like, you could be like, whoa, wait, and like kind of go like, you're taking over, la la la. Instead, you just kind of pause and find a way to be like, I love the way you're doing this, but I would love to maybe try doing it this way or whatever, right? Trying to reword the situation. I've found that pausing and just kind of biting my tongue every once in a while has really helped, because you know we all have those moments where we just want to snap and take over.
And sometimes I think it's time pressure when you're feeling like you're stressed and you have to get to the next thing. And, I remember times when I was just trying to get the kids out the door to get to school. And it was like one more thing. And I was like, you just snap because it's like we're under time. So you feel like you're under this time pressure and you're in like a pressure cooker and suddenly like you blow your top.
Well, and that brings me to like talking about the fuse getting shorter. Rachel, you talk about the fuse becoming shorter after the years and putting everyone else first. Can you explain that connection to us a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So we put everybody else first. And, you know, none of us has an endless well of energy. None of us has an endless well. It's like finite resources. And so the saying you can't pour from an empty cup, the same thing that fuse when we don't nourish ourselves either through mindfulness practices, through movements, through, taking time to fuel ourselves. I know you've heard the term hangry, right? And so all of these practices, they all work together. But when we are moving through our days from the sense of depletion, when we are not fueling ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, we're coming to our relationships from the sense of depletion. And so you're thinking, gosh, why am I so tired, maybe, or why am I so depleted? Why don't I have the energy? And so we that fuse gets shorter because mm, we're not nourishing it. And so, you might think you're being difficult when really you're being overloaded because that fuse has gotten so short that it just fizzles out. Does that help kind of visualize it a little bit more?
It's kind of like you just go, go. It's like fire, I suppose. It just keeps going, going, going. Like, it's strong and you're powerful and you have all this energy, but like as the time goes on, it fizzles out, and then you're just so done that like you can't, there's almost no saving it, I suppose. And you just got to try and recharge and rebuild until so that you can fuel that fire, like feed it again, right? So that you have the energy to keep going, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And so many of us these days, we move through our lives in a chronic state of stress. And so our nervous systems are always kind of stuck in that space of fight or flight. And even just taking a few minutes throughout the day to come back to the breath, to come back to the body, to notice what you see, what's around you. How often do we spend our day above the neck, in the head, thinking about what's already happening, ruminating about the past, or worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet? And so our minds are overstimulated, but we're disconnected from our bodies. And so taking that time, those mindfulness practices throughout the day to find the pause, to give your nervous system just a moment to slow down, to reset, can help so much to, so the fuse isn't so short, especially, as we're recording this now, it's summertime. So a lot of families have the kids home. And so you're spending more time around each other than normal. And so there are a lot more opportunities to be triggered and a lot more practice with reacting mindfully. And so it's easier when you're overstimulated like that, especially if you're not filling your own cup, if you're not taking care of yourself, to just snap when that's not who you are. It's just the state that you're in.
Yeah,
And
Rachel,
it's about
I have
taking,
oh,
oh,
go ahead,
sorry,
Sabrina.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm going to probably go off a different subject, so go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, that's fine. I was just going to say it's, you know, when you are in that state, it's not selfish to take time for yourself. And sometimes people think it's selfish to just step away and give yourself that few minutes to, maybe do a yoga pose, do a restorative pose, have a cup of tea, whatever makes you calm down and come back to yourself so that you can be a better version of yourself for others. And that's more or less sort of, what I think when people are like, oh, I don't have time, then you have to like find time to just take yourself out of that situation. Like you said, especially in the summer when you're with your kids and maybe you don't have your regular routines of free time to fill yourself up with the things that you normally do. You might be a little disgruntled that you're just go, go, go. And mom, I need this. Mom, I need that. La, la, la. Your husband's calling you, whatever. So saying, you know what, today for like this time to this time, I'm just going to go for a walk. I'll be back if you can. Leave the kids alone. If not, then, you find somebody or something and you do what you have to do to bring yourself back to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go off a little bit and just ask, I've noticed that there seems to be a certain type of people. Maybe it's a personality. Maybe it's, if you believe in doshas like Pitta, Kapha, Vata, that seem to be more like have a shorter fuse than most. Like some people just naturally have a long, patient, long fuse. Others only seems like it's a 2 millimeters and they're like psh, gone. It's at they're at you. Do you find that to be a true thing or is it just that they haven't practiced? Can you help me understand that a little bit?
I think that's a really good point. And, there are so many different personality types. And so, how much of it actually is the personality? How much of it is something that we can learn to practice over time? I know that for me, myself, a long time ago, I used to get road rage so bad. And I don't know why. I had no patience. My fuse was so short that I would just snap and I didn't do anything. It was just maybe it was a safe spot because it was my car and nobody was around me to hear it. But, for me, the practice has been like through yoga, through breath work, through meditation, through stress management practices that I've needed in my own life for caring for my own nervous system. I've noticed that my fuse has naturally just gotten longer, but I have a lot of self-care practices built into my day because I've learned that it's a requirement for me to operate to my best potential, to show up in the world as the person that I want to be. I can't do that if I am not caring for myself. And so there are times, of course, where life gets busier. We fall off our list and we're depleted. And then I do notice that I snap more. So I think there is probably a combination. All of our personalities are different. Some people are probably just going to be the type who are more likely to snap. But I believe most likely over time that even with practice, they could learn to extend their fuse even a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think that probably is true because the people I'm thinking about that had a short fuse, like they were well, I think part of it is that they're a high driver. And so are business owners or business people or financial people who just have all of these boxes to check throughout their day.
Mhm.
And so again, we're talking about the pressure cooker. They have all these things on their to-do list to do. They're trying to manage all the things, and then something doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, and it's like they're off the rails. Um,
Yes. And
mhm. Yeah. And then I think about the fake people who maybe have low self-esteem. Like they're trying to, their ego is saying, you need to do this because we don't feel good about ourselves. So we need to show up this way and show smoke and mirrors because, we want everybody to have this perceived idea about ourselves. And then when it doesn't go that way, then they can go off the rails. So there's lots of different personalities and different emotional states, I think that perhaps lead to the short fuse.
That's exactly it. There are so many different factors. I mean, the environment we're in, the people we're around, certain people are more triggering than others. And I've heard it said that if something is triggering you from somebody else, it's likely something you might want to look at within yourself. And so I tend to question, okay, there are a few people who I feel triggered more often in their presence. Why is that? And is there something within me that I can do a little bit more? You know, is there a characteristic about this person that I perhaps need to explore within myself to why I'm feeling triggered around this particular person? And so it can be the environment, it can be the people around us, different personalities don't always mix the best.
Mhm.
And then, when you're tired, when you're hungry, all these different factors come into play to determine to some extent our level of patience and our ability to react mindfully or respond mindfully rather than just react on autopilot.
Totally agree. I have three daughters. My oldest daughter is, she's an empath. She's pretty empathetic and feels the vibrations and energies around her. She works in, healthcare, which makes it even more difficult when you're an empath. Anyway, throughout the years, I think she better understands herself. And I've talked to her many times about, you are feeling the energies of those around you. So if somebody is anxious, and you talked about that just now, like maybe it's what is it about that person that triggers you? If you're an empath or if you're feeling like you have the capability of feeling the energies around you, it certainly does have an effect on your own energy and your own triggers, if you will. But just understanding that and just mindfully thinking, okay, I'm putting a crystal around me. This is not my energy. This is their energy. I am safe. And so I have to tell myself that too sometimes, like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm safe. I'm in a safe space. It's okay. This is them. I'm here to help them. I'm here to listen to them. I'm going to do what I can do to help them in this moment. And just, I really have to talk to myself, talk to stay calm.
Yes,
I
I'm
like to
so with
sing
you on
song.
that.
Yeah, I like to sing songs in my head. Something, that's my thing when I'm like trying to just sing a song or hum a song and get like my energy back into balance, like when you're like that. But yeah, go ahead.
That's a really great idea. I love that.
That is a great idea.
Oh, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, I feel sensitive to people's energy as well. And so, one thing that has really helped me over the years is to actually visualize putting like a force field around my body. And it's just an
Mhm.
energetic force field. I just take a few breaths and I imagine this bubble around me that other people's energy or feelings bounce off of. And it sounds a little bit silly, but it helps me to visualize that, to stay grounded in my own energy and not absorb the energy around me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you say it sounds silly when I talk about the chrysalis or the energies. I mean, this is the podcast. Our audience is, we are woo. So and I'm okay with
I love
that.
it. I love it.
We are, but it's so true. But people like will honor that. Like they realize the value in all the things that we talk about with the essential oils protection and crystals and guarding yourself and the auras and because it makes sense when you actually like dive deep into it and people go, oh, yeah, right, and then they try it and they're like, oh, I actually tried what you said and it worked. And so that's why we offer these things. So
I love it. So then how do people go forward? Okay, they've got the short fuse. They're going to practice the power of pause. What's one way or just maybe a couple of different things that they can put into practice that can remind them? Like I know some people wear these little bracelets and or like a rubber band and they snap themselves to kind of bring them back into like reality. You mentioned like look at three objects in the room, like that can bring you back to the moment. But sometimes we do get so far out. Like you don't even remember that you need to come back in until like the whole thing's over with, and it's like now you're there in the crux of like, I did it again.
Yeah, I would say in that moment, I mean, it's already happened. It's in the past. There's nothing we can change about what we've already done. We can use it as an opportunity to get in touch with ourselves. Okay, what was going on in me, around me right now that made me feel triggered enough that I had to respond in that way that doesn't reflect the type of person that I want to be. And so self-study, I think, is so important. And just that curiosity, approaching it with curiosity instead of judgment,
Mhm.
so that should the situation arise again, perhaps the next time, because you have that knowledge, you can react in a more mindful way, but also taking the opportunity to own up to the experience, apologize if needed or appropriate, and just say, I'm sorry, that's not who I am. I'm feeling very depleted right now, or whatever the situation happens to be. And, this is somebody that you care about deeply in most cases. And so how can you just make sure that that relationship is solid and the type of relationship you want it to embody? So keeping the doorway to communication open, but then, you can do something simple. Place your hands over your heart, breathe into that space, feel the movement of the breath in the body. Do something to help ground you. And I know I have one friend who she will actually say, she'll do the apology. She's like, I need just a few minutes. And she'll go leave the room, change the state, maybe walk outside, and just take a few breaths. Take a few minutes to ground yourself fully. And then you can come back to your day in a much better state of being.
Yes, and I have had to do that myself. I felt so overwhelmed at points of time. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't talk about this right now. Like, I'm feeling very emotional. I need to take a break. I need to take a moment. And I do. I go, my part is that I want to take probably too long in thinking about it and not coming back sooner. So I'm working on like, okay, I don't need a whole day. I don't need a half a day. I can come back sooner. But part of that is just my personality, and I am an avoidance. So I thought, well, if we don't talk about it, it'll go away. Like but it doesn't, and it always comes back up. So I've learned that in my years of life is that I need to just, take care of my business, not just let it um, stew,
That's true.
fester and stew. Yeah.
I find that too. I think communication is a big part of it because if, you're with a partner or anybody and you're not having a great day, I think it's important to communicate that to someone and just say, today I'm not feeling the greatest, or I'm not in my head, or, I'll just, if I'm off, it's not you, it's me kind of thing, or I just need to take a minute, or today's not a great day. Because I think we often will just go, 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 and we do things without intention, like it's like, oh, we signed up for this and now we feel obligated to do it. And we're not in the headspace to do it because we've had like three other things happen this week that we didn't anticipate. And sometimes you just have to be like, I'm here, but I don't know. Or if you can't do it, sometimes you just have to say, like, unfortunately, I have to step back, and is there someone to help me? Or, I might need a little more support, because that's when the triggers will happen and the fuses fly off the handle, because you're coming into something that you're like, oh my God, I just can't take one more thing. Right. So I always feel now that um, my way of dealing with it is just communication and letting people know. I used to just keep it all in and not say anything and just put on a smile. And then after, I'd be like, oh my God, I would snap at something, or someone would say something and I'd be like so angry about it, or didn't go my way because I wasn't putting in my whole 100%. So communication is key, and letting people know, I think, as well. Would you say?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think healthy boundaries as well. People can't, um, if they don't know they've crossed a boundary and you haven't communicated that boundary to them, then it's just going to happen over and over and over again. And so, yes, for sure, having the clear lines of communication. But I remember when I was in corporate, like you were saying earlier, Dabney, you have this list of things you have to check off throughout your day, and then you get interrupted over and over and over again. And so, how can you set yourself up for success? Can you put a sign on your door that says, work in progress, or, do not disturb? Can you set yourself up so that the interruption or the trigger doesn't even happen. In some cases we can, in some cases we can't, but having those clear lines of communication both ways is very helpful.
I know in the dental world, like it's hard. Like for us, Dabney, we're back to back sometimes patients. We don't even have a time to go to the washroom or anything like that. But I know for the dentist I work for, she's very good at the communication and the boundaries. Like she has a day, she'll leave little gaps in her day to do her charting, or she'll have little gaps in the day that say, do not book, need time for this if she notices her day is getting filled with too much stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, that's really great because I've never seen really that in my years of practice, that it's just everybody just seems go 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 like a wheel on a hamster, just spin spin, okay, next one, next one, next, and then you get to the end of the day, you're like, whew, that was a day, and then you're like, can't even breathe. So I feel like that's such a smart way of doing that. And she also allows us as hygienists to have a lot of time in our day, like to have a gap where we do have time to run back, have a drink, or fill in our charts or whatever it is, which is very helpful, because then we give more to our clients and patients, we give more to ourselves, each other in the office, and we all work cohesively. Nobody's getting like really disgruntled and angry by the end of the day.
Well, and then you have something of yourself to still take home for your family. You haven't given everything to your work.
Exactly, because that's
Yeah.
important. Because we often feel that way at the end of the day because we are taking on that emotional stress of energies from patients and the complaining and their fuse is short because they had a day getting to the appointment or whatever, and it becomes our thing. So yeah, taking deep breaths for sure and humming our songs in our heads are definitely useful.
Yeah, so true. So many people don't like coming to the dental office. I have a fair amount of patients who do enjoy coming because they've been coming there so long. They just know the routine. They know how things work, and basically it's like a little visit each time. But for the practitioner, we have it's showtime. We have to be perky even if we don't feel like it. We have to be happy even if we don't feel like it. And so you feel like you're in a circus, and it's showtime.
So true. So true.
hmm
Oh gosh, yeah, life. It's just a life thing is, and like all these little tips that you've given us has really helped because I think more people will take the time to pause and breathe and um, come back to themselves in moments where they feel the sense of overwhelm. And I know that you have a beautiful free gift for everyone called the soft landing. Can you tell us what it is and how it helps people create more space between a trigger and their response?
Yeah, so the soft landing, it's about 9 minutes long, and it is just a short guided grounding practice. We come back to the body, we come back to the breath, we connect to the support beneath us, and it is a way to get in the habit of just slowing down and checking in with yourself so that if you practice that more often, at least in my own experience, when I practice grounding day to day, I'm more able to stay grounded when life tries to pull me off center. And so the offering is with the intent that when you practice it more often, it's going to help you stay in that state of balance more often, that state of feeling grounded in your body more often, so that even when you are triggered, you have a deeper capacity to choose how to respond mindfully instead of react. So even though you're still busy, even though life is still full, the small things can stop hijacking you and you can meet the people you love, the circumstances you're in as yourself, more fully yourself, not from that edge or that place of depletion.
Wow, thank you,
I
Rachel. What
love
a
that.
beautiful gift.
Beautiful.
And yeah, just 9 minutes. I mean, what a nice gift to yourself to take the
Yeah.
time for that morning ritual, if you will, just to start the day.
Yes, it's been life-changing for me. And so I like to offer it as a gift to others as well to hopefully just help them feel a little more steady. Life pulls us in all these different directions, and it's hard to stay centered.
Oh, absolutely. So, if what are three, maybe your top three things that someone can start doing today after they've listened to this podcast? And they're saying, yeah, I definitely have a short fuse, or yeah, I live with someone with a short fuse and I want to be able to take the time to pause. What are your top three things that they can do today?
The first thing that I like to do, well, maybe not the first, but one of the things I like to do is think about something that I do day to day and then use that as my trigger or invitation to ground myself. So, for example, every time I eat a meal, before I eat, I take a long, slow, deep breath in and I just let it back out. Every time I brush my teeth, I take a long breath in before I brush my teeth. I take a long breath out. It's just a pocket of grounding, a pocket like the power of the pause. Find these moments throughout your day where you can weave in an intentional pause just to come fully home to yourself. So that's one way is thinking about something that you do in your day-to-day routine and pick a grounding practice to go with it. Maybe it's feeling the breath, maybe it's feeling the ground beneath you. Another one that I like is just placing one hand on each shoulder and let the hands just tap alternating side to side. It's a gentle way to help soothe the nervous system, that bilateral tapping, and it just helps bring you home. It helps calm you, it helps you ground you. And then the final one would be just to really connect to whatever is supporting you. To so often we're the ones supporting everyone else. And so we're all being held by the earth in some form or other. So notice, are your feet on the ground? Can you connect a little deeper to that sensation of planting the feet? Are you sitting? Can you connect a little more to that feeling of being supported, of being held? And just for people who aren't really anchored by the breath, that grounding physically can feel a little bit more stabilizing.
Yeah, I just think like you just let us know where our listeners can find you. And if you could leave our listeners with one message about self-compassion and emotional resilience, what would that be?
Yeah, so they can find me at radiantlyrootedyoga.com. And as far as a message for self-care and resilience, I heard something the other day that really resonated with me. If you imagine a cup of tea and it's sitting on a saucer, before we talked about that analogy of you've got a cup of water and it's full to the brim, and that single drop is the one that knocks you over the edge. But you can think about that cup in a completely different way as well. We talk about filling our cup, about nourishing ourselves, and that we can't pour from an empty cup. And so I heard something the other day that talked about how we should only be giving from the saucer. So in the sense that there's that tea, the cup of tea, and it's so abundant that it's overflowing. And so we're giving from that space of overflow. And so just that reminder that self-care, even though we can feel like it's selfish, it's one of the most selfless things that we can do because especially for those of us who are sensitive and feel energy, you can feel when somebody around you, their energy is low and it kind of pulls you down too. But if somebody around you, their energy is high and they're lit up and you can see their glow and you can feel their glow, the energy, we're responsible for the energy that we bring. And so when we fill our own cup, even if it's just a few minutes a day, we're able to show up much more grounded, much more present, and really move through our days in the way that we would like to feel.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it so much. It was so great to meet you, Rachel, and I'm glad we had you on today.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you all as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, take care and try the pause. I'm certainly going to work that muscle a little bit more.
That's part of the healthy dose of
Dose of
happiness.
happiness. Yes.
I love that.
Oh, for sure.